What's up, YouTube? Devil's Details Diecast back here with a custom build. This build is for the Cannonball run build off that we're having. I chose the, well, more like got stuck with the Hawaiian Tropic Chevy Malibu Laguna, which is actually this Chevy Pro stock model here from Matchbox, super fast. This is a Malibu Laguna, and this was driven by Terry Bradshaw and Mel Tillis in the movie. So this is the closest semblance of a Chevy Malibu Laguna that is made in the diecast world as far as I could figure out. So this is what we're going to go with. Luckily in the movie the windows are mainly down, so I can eliminate this netting here. Yeah, so basically we're just going to get it into the stripper, get all the stock car paint off here and get it painted that dull red maroon color. Get the lights put on the front. It does have like 2 spotlights put on the front here and here. And yeah, we'll get this build going. So looking forward to seeing all the other builds. There'll be a list below of all the participants in the Cannonball Run build here. If all goes well, perhaps we'll have a Cannonball Run 2 build with the cars from that movie, and maybe get some new builders into that. This was a invitational by me to certain builders in the community, and maybe the next one will have some new builders. So stick around, see the progress here, turning this Pepsi Challenger into the Hawaiian Tropic Chevy Laguna. So here we have the Pepsi Challenger all dissected. A little worse for wear. We got a little bit of rust on there. We'll be able to get off no problem. We'll strip that base down just to get a nice starting point. And of course, the body here. Glass is in good shape, just needs a little sanding. And again, we're going to cut the sides off for the side windows because the car in the movie mainly had the windows down from all the pictures that I could see and from the movie itself. Interior is pretty stock. I'll do some double checking on the interior, see if there's any added features that this doesn't have. Tires are going to have to go. The tires were lettered Goodyear tires, so I'm going to have to source some of those. And away we go. So here we have the Laguna all stripped and shined up. Even though I'm doing an opaque job, I like to shine it up as much as I can and get any scratches or gunk out of it. It is a rough kind of casting, but I'm sure with the paint it'll be fine. So I was looking at the casting and I realized how big the wheel wells were because it is a stock car, and it did have the fender flares on it, as you can see here and here. So with the decals, that's not going to fly because the Hawaiian Tropic goes straight across the door all the way to the back. So the movie car, the fenders are really flat. So what I decided to do was basically take the file out and file down the fender flares, as you can see looking at it this way, in comparison to the back fender flare here and the fender on this side and even the fronts. I've filed them here pretty flat, and then I'm going to either take some JB Weld, Jim Silva, or some Milliput, since I already have it, and I'm going to have to fill in, you know, a good amount of this arc here to get it down to the level of the movie, and then of course sand that nice and smooth to get a flatter fender here. Also, the spoiler here is a lot taller than in the movie, so I'm going to file that down as much as I can, get it a little bit shorter. And I do have some work to do on the front here because, again, the movie car has a regular grill, a mesh grill here in the front. and obviously the stock car does not. So I got my work cut out for me here. I got to finish sanding down these fenders here and closing up these wheel wells. Kind of didn't realize that when I got the casting, but I'm pretty much stuck with what the casting is because there are not any other Chevy Laguna castings out there. So got some work to do here. Again, I'm just going to keep filing away. I'm just using a regular flat file here, trying not to do much damage to the rest while still achieving what I need to achieve and getting those fender flares flattened. That's a tongue twister. And again, we'll have to get them closed up with either some JB weld or some milliput. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done off camera, and we'll check back in when that's finished. I also may have to flatten this part here because in the movie this is all one continuous piece. So again, take off this little ridge here to get this flat, also to fit some decals going across here. So a lot of filing to do, and we'll check back in when that's done. Okay, so here we have the Laguna all milliputted and Bondo glazing and spot puttied up, sanded down. We're going to hit it with some primer just to see where any bumps or bruises might be. It's pretty smooth to the touch. I know it doesn't look that smooth. Using the glazing and spot putty over the milliput kind of gives it that weird texture, but can't sand it any much more than that. Primer is going to cover up pretty much all of it, so going to shoot that with the primer and see what it looks like, see if it needs any other sanding. I did sand it with 1500. It is very smooth to the touch, so I'm hoping the primer will cover any mistakes or blemishes there, and we'll see what it looks like when it comes out. Stick around. Okay, here's the Laguna out of primer, and I guess I didn't do a good job as I thought on sanding, so we're going to go ahead and get a little more sanding done on this. It is looking a little rough here and there, and I'm a little afraid that passenger side wheel well is a little too big, so I may have to throw a little bit more milliput on there, but we're going to get a little more sanding done, get that smoothed out, and we'll see where we're at, so stick around. And if you remember, this is what we started with. Matchbox Superfast Pepsi Challenger stock car, aka the Chevy Malibu Laguna, set to be transformed into the Hawaiian Tropic Cannonball run car, drove by Terry Bradshaw and Mel Tillis. And this is how she turned out.
Still on ice. I don't think he's a buffing either.
Nah, don't you worry, son. I'm gonna lose him right up here at the motel.
Hey, I remember. There's the spot. There's the spot, and right in back. And it's a perfect spot to hide.
All right, wonderful.
Take a left. Oh hell, take a left.
I can't see shit, can you? No problem, son, no problem.
And here it is, folks, the Chevy Laguna from Cannonball Run. Whew, I'd have to say this is probably my most involved custom to date. Did a ton of work on this, as you saw in the video, with filing down the fenders, filling in the fenders, filing down the rear spoiler, and not to mention putting on all these decals. These were crazy, and yes, all the front sponsorship decals were put on individually, so all those little tiny decals. And then, of course, right down to the tiny Goodyear decal on the windshield. The only thing that's different on this model from the movie is the blower on the hood. I mistakenly built the blower on the hood based off of the Tribute car that Burt Reynolds auctioned off at Barrett-Jackson a few years back. Well, quite a few years back, actually, but they for some reason put a blower on that model, and I built it and painted everything, and then realized that there was no blower on the car in the movie, so it was already too late to go back. I wasn't about to tear it all back down, and I thought it still looked cool, so I left it. Big shout out to Kenny Terry for the decals, the Hawaiian Tropic decals. The ones from the model kit that he scaled down for me did not have all the sponsors, so I did create some of my own. And I did have to go on the hunt online for some of those. Big shout out to Keith over at Outlaw Speed Shop for helping me find a couple of the brands that I couldn't identify. The front spotlights are from a Hot Wheels, I think one of the doozy models. I just cut those off the front, chromed them up, and glued them on the front. Other than that, it's all from the Pepsi Stalker model. Painted in testers. I forgot the color, shimmering red, I think. So it does have a little bit of a glitter to it. It does kind of look like orange peel, but it's actually a little bit of a glitter to it. The wheels are from I believe it's an M2 Chevy Camaro, which actually is right here, sitting back on its base with no wheels. I wanted to make sure I got the Goodyear tires on those. It's the base, nothing to write home about. I didn't bother coloring the whole base. And that's about it. So make sure you check out all the other builders of the Cannonball Run. Their links will be down in the description below. I'd like to thank everybody that joined in on the build. And make sure you check out all the other cars. Everybody did a great job on their cars. And this is going to go in my personal collection because, again, this is probably one of the most involved customs that I've had to do on a car to date. So I'll throw a couple glamour shots at the end just so you can get a little bit closer look here. And that's about it. So until the next one, be well.
What do you say when there are no words? Feel a song that's never been heard. How do you know when you hear the call?